With what we've learned about Markdown and YAML, let's go ahead and start an example of a report that contains a dimensional analysis. In this case, I would like the title that I give to Pandoc to show up at the top of the report. So instead of the page title key, I'm going to use the title key, and I'm going to make the title of this report Dimensional Analysis Examples. Then for the body of this report, I'm actually going to have more than one example. So this gives us an excuse to learn about headers in Markdown. So in the Markdown formatting language, you can specify headers within the document, because you might have multiple sections and multiple subsections with different headers. And in this case, the header that I'm going to use is going to be for the Darcy-Weisbach equation. So I'm going to type Darcy-Weisbach equation as my first header. And the way that you specify headers in Markdown is with what we used to call the pound symbol, what might be called the hashtag symbol these days. So if I put at the very beginning of the line a hashtag or a pound symbol, that is going to designate the rest of that line as containing information that will go into a header. And I'm going to put as many pound signs or hashtags as the level of header it's going to be. So this was a first level, second level, third level, fourth level, all the way up to, I think you can go up to 6 levels of different headers. And each level of header is going to have a different style. Generally, the lower the level or the higher the priority, like a first level header is going to be bigger and bolder, and it's going to be less and less noticeable as you get to lower level of headers. Then I can start on a paragraph after this. So I've got my header, and now I can have a paragraph in that section. So in this case, I'm going to start describing the Darcy-Weisbach equation. So the Darcy-Weisbach equation applied to a stream relates the average velocity of water through a cross-section of the channel to a function of the following variables. So I've started my report. I've started describing the Darcy-Weisbach equation in this section. Now, one thing to know about Markdown is that in some cases, extra lines or extra new lines or extra space characters don't matter. They don't get interpreted, and that is true within paragraphs. So within a given paragraph of text, I can have as many extra spaces or as many extra new line characters as I want, and it will just get ignored. It'll just ignore it. So for example, you see I've typed all of this text out, and this line goes way, way across, and to see the whole line, I have to scroll left and right. So really, for any kind of encoding, I am in favor of fairly narrow coding. So for example, if I want to break this paragraph up into multiple lines, I can add a new line here, and I can add a new line here. And I can add a period at the end of my sentence. And now I can see everything in one screen. And the fact that there are new lines here doesn't matter. Those new lines will not be interpreted at all by Markdown. All of these words are just going to be in the paragraph as one sentence as they were originally. And just to illustrate this, how white space and new lines are ignored, I'm going to add a whole bunch of white space between following and variables. So I'm just putting a bunch of space characters here. And I just want to show you how all of this extra white space, when Markdown is interpreting a paragraph, don't matter. So let's take a look at what this looks like now. We're going to hit our preview button, and that'll bring up HTML. Here's our title, Dimensional Analysis Examples. Here's our first level header, Darcy-Weisbach equation. And here's the first paragraph in that section. And in this case, it's just that one sentence that we just wrote. And notice there's no extra space between following and variables, and there aren't extra new lines anywhere where we had a new line in the original text file. So if I move this out of the way, You can see in the original text file that we had a new line after velocity, a new line after the, and all this extra space between following and variables. There's a new line after the here, but I think it's a different the. It's just putting all of the text back together into a single sentence with single spaces in between the words. So that really helps you keep cleaner code when you're writing markdown code. And again, I'm a fan of narrow code styles. We'll talk about that later in a lot of detail. But I like to keep all of my code within about 80 characters in width as a maximum. So as a demonstration, I'm going to run a preview on this again. It's going to pop it up again. Again, it looks exactly the same. Even though I got rid of those extra spaces between following and variables, that didn't change anything. It looks exactly the same. So that gets us a start on how to do headers in Markdown.